Welcome to the midnight hour. The rain hammered against the windshield, blurring the deserted streets as Clara pulled into her friend, Elena's, driveway. It was late, later than they usually met, but a sudden downpour had delayed Clara, and Elena had insisted she stay the night. Headlights swept across the house, revealing its familiar silhouette. But as Clara stepped out, a flicker of movement in the living room window caught her eye. A tall, shadowy figure stood motionless, peering out. A jolt of unease ran through her.
Elena?
She called, pushing open the creaky front door. The figure vanished, and the house was silent.
Elena, are you there?
Silence. Clara cautiously stepped inside, the floorboards groaning under her weight. The air hung heavy with the scent of dust and something else, something she couldn't quite place.
Elena?
She called again, her voice echoing in the emptiness. Finally, she heard a muffled cry from upstairs. Relief washed over her.
Up here.
Elena appeared at the top of the stairs, a look of surprise on her face.
Clara. You made it. I thought you might turn back with this storm.
They embraced, and Clara couldn't help but blurt out,
Hey, I didn't know you had a roommate. I saw someone at the window.
Elena's smile faltered.
A roommate? No, Clara, I live alone. Why would you think that?
Clara frowned.
There was definitely someone there. A tall guy, kind of shadowy.
Elena's face paled.
A tall guy. You're sure? I've been seeing a shadow sometimes. Mostly at night.
A cold dread settled in Clara's stomach. Glancing at the clock on the wall, she saw the time, 3:13 a.m. The witching hour. Neither woman spoke for a moment, the weight of the unseen presence pressing down on them. Sleep seemed an impossible dream. Every rustle of wind, every creak of the house sent shivers down their spines. Hours ticked by, measured by the rhythmic drumming of rain on the roof. Finally, exhaustion overwhelmed them. They decided to stay awake until dawn, huddled together on the couch, a single lamp casting a meager circle of light against the encroaching darkness. As the clock struck 12, a long, chilling chime echoed through the house, seemingly louder than any clock chime had ever been. The shadow. It had returned. Clara and Elena exchanged a terrified look. They could feel it, a cold, oppressive presence in the room with them. The air crackled with a static energy that made their hair stand on end. Suddenly, a gust of wind swept through the house, extinguishing the lamp and plunging them into complete darkness. A blood-curdling scream pierced the silence, a man's scream, filled with anguish and regret. Then, just as abruptly, it stopped. Silence descended once more, broken only by their ragged breaths. When the first rays of dawn crept through the windows, casting a pale light into the room, Clara and Elena emerged from their huddle, eyes wide and filled with terror. They were no longer alone. The shadow stood in the corner, motionless, yet somehow radiating a sense of immense sadness. Elena, her voice trembling, spoke first. Do you recognize him, Clara? Clara stared at the figure, a memory flickering in the recesses of her mind. He looks like Daniel, your friend who died a few years ago in a car accident. Elena gasped. Tears welled up in her eyes. It can't be. He died visiting me at this very house. As the sun rose higher, washing away the darkness of the night, the shadow began to fade. It lingered for a moment, a sorrowful expression passing across its face, before dissolving completely. Clara and Elena stood there, speechless, the weight of the encounter pressing down on them. They knew, with a chilling certainty, that Daniel's restless spirit had finally found peace. He had returned to the place where he last felt alive, seeking solace in the company of his friend, before finally moving on. The experience left them shaken, forever bound by the terrifying night they encountered a ghost. The house no longer felt empty. It held a memory, a reminder of a friendship that transcended even death, and a chilling tale whispered on the wind, a tale of a restless spirit finally laid to rest. Blackwood Manor was a sprawling Victorian mansion for peanuts. Sure, it was a little dusty and creaky, but David, a history professor on a research sabbatical, saw potential. Emily, his artist wife, saw a blank canvas, a chance to escape the city and get her creative juices flowing. Little did they know, Blackwood Manor had a different kind of paint job in mind, one splashed with dread. It started with the little stuff. Keys vanished, reappearing in random drawers. Doors creaked open on their own. Cold drafts snaked through the drafty halls, even when the fireplace roared. Just an old house settling, David reassured Emily, ever the pragmatist. But his nonchalance started to crack when their daughter, Lily, started babbling about a sad lady who visited her at night. The real clincher was when Emily, usually a skeptic, saw the spectral figure herself, a woman in a tattered white gown, her face obscured by shadow, leaving behind a lingering scent of lavender and despair. Even David couldn't explain that one away. Desperate, Emily turned to the internet, the ultimate source of all knowledge, even spooky knowledge. She stumbled upon Professor Evelyn Thorne, a woman with a website that promised paranormal problems solved with a sprinkle of science and a dash of badassery. Professor Thorne, with her funky purple hair and no-nonsense attitude, arrived at Blackwood Manor like a paranormal Mary Poppins, carrying a satchel full of EMF readers and holy water, just in case. Things took a turn for the worse after that. Objects flew across the room like rogue frisbees, doors slammed shut with enough force to rattle your fillings, and Lily's night terrors became full-blown screamfests. Turns out, Blackwood Manor wasn't just haunted by a sad ghost, it was a portal to something much nastier, something feeding off their fear. Professor Thorne explained it all with a bunch of technical jargon that basically boiled down to, "You guys are living on top of a mega-sized nope monster." Professor Thorne's plan was risky, involving Emily entering her own dreams and befriending the sad ghost lady. Yeah, not exactly the kind of therapy session you find on a Zillow listing. But Emily, ever the brave one, or maybe just the most sleep-deprived, agreed. In the bizarre dreamscape, the ghost lady materialized, radiating sadness like a broken lighthouse. Through fragmented visions and creepy whispers, Emily learned the lady's tragic story, a witch hunt gone wrong, a life stolen. Emily reached out, not with fear, but with compassion. It worked. The entity feeding off the ghost lady's despair weakened, its hold on Blackwood Manor loosening. Professor Thorne performed her ritual, the house groaning like it was on a haunted roller coaster. Then, silence. A heavy, peaceful silence. The entity was gone, the sad ghost lady hopefully at peace. Blackwood Manor never quite lost its spooky charm. The floorboards still creaked a melancholic tune in the dead of night, and the scent of lavender occasionally lingered in the air. But the overwhelming feeling of dread was gone. They stayed the year, researching the ghost lady's story and leaving a small memorial in the rose garden. Blackwood Manor became a footnote in their lives, a chilling reminder that sometimes the scariest things aren't ghosts, but the darkness that can lurk within us. And also, maybe don't rent houses with super cheap rent, there's usually a reason for it. News of their experience spread like wildfire in the local paranormal community. Professor Thorne, ever the opportunist, saw a chance to expand her business. She launched Blackwood Manor Investigations, offering weekend ghost hunting tours and lectures on the science and spooktacularness of the afterlife. The tours were a hit, drawing in thrill-seekers and curious tourists. The house, once a vessel of darkness, became a beacon for the strange and unexplained. One crisp autumn weekend, a group of wide-eyed college students, armed with flashlights and EMF readers, embarked on their Blackwood Manor tour. As they huddled in the grand hall, Professor Thorne, with a dramatic flourish, recounted the chilling tale of the sad ghost lady. Suddenly, a chill swept through the room, the EMF readers buzzing wildly. A gust of wind, unseen and icy cold, extinguished the candles, plunging the hall into darkness. A collective gasp arose from the students. Then, a faint, mournful voice echoed through the hall, "Help me." Professor Thorne, ever the professional, reached for her bag of ghost-hunting gadgets. But a flicker of unease crossed her face. This wasn't part of the show. This felt real, raw, and undeniably terrifying. The Blackwood Manor adventure wasn't over. It seemed the entity, weakened but not destroyed, was back, drawn by the fresh wave of fear. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, like and comment.